Following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to your Hometown Health Show, brought to you by Trilogy Home Healthcare, the industry leader with over 30 years of experience in providing home healthcare services such as skilled nursing, physical and occupational therapy, home health aides, and other specialized care to your homes throughout the state. Please tune in every other week as we bring you a range of good information from specialists in the field to help make you more informed and living healthy.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Yolanda Santana, and you are listening and watching your Hometown Health Show. We are on 95.3 FM and 1470 AM. You can also watch us on Aptu TV Live, Facebook Live. Tonight we have a special guest, or actually a couple special guests, Elizabeth Bruss and Eddie Oscar from Life Care Center at Inverary, Florida. Our show sponsor is Trilogy, of course, and we have tonight Tony Brown from Trilogy. Welcome, everyone. Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about what Trilogy does for those of you who don't know, who just listening, just tuning into the show. Tony?
So what Trilogy is a Medicare certified home health agency, and we cover pretty much all the state of Florida, over 30 counties, and that goes from Jacksonville all the way down to South Broward. And what we do is we help families, caregivers with the transition of their loved ones from whether it be a facility like Life Cares, or like Life Care, or I'm not talking into the mic.
Yeah.
Like Life Cares, or from a hospital, or just from patients from the physicians.
Okay, perfect. So, Elizabeth, if you could tell us how you work with a facility like Trilogy.
So, well, first off, Life Care Center at Inverary, we're a skilled nursing facility. So we're 120 beds. And for us, our relationship with Trilogy, really, it starts at admission for our residents. So when they come in from whether it's the hospital or home setting, really our discharge planning is already starting. So our case manager, our nurse case manager, Hortense, actually, she is the one who would be a contact person for Tony, and basically we're taking a look at that patient when they start with us all the way to the end of their therapy stay. So when they're finished with their therapy stay, when they reach that plateau, sometimes they still need some more assistance, and that's where Tony comes into play, and he's able to help us provide that in that home setting, whether it's an assisted living or if it's at home or independent living.
All right, perfect. So let's go a little bit more into what you do and what your role is at Life Care.
Okay. So I've been at Life Care Center at Inverary for 3 years now, just about. I've been with Life Care for 4, but I actually started with Life Care. So I'm a little biased because that's kind of my baby. But I did my administrator and training program there, and then I transitioned down to the Fort Lauderdale market. And I mean, we're a 120 bed facility, but I've got 20 different managers who all work together to make sure we have the, premier quality of care for our residents.
Okay, great. And Eddie Oscar, please let us know a little bit about what you do at Life Care.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Well, I've been with Life Care for a little over a year. I've been in healthcare for about 10 years. My background is very diverse. I've worked a few years in a psychiatric unit. I've done cardiac surgery. I've done outpatient dialysis. So my role at Life Care, I'm the director of business development and marketing. And my goal is to build partnerships with providers that we have in the community. Also to assess residents that are in a hospital that potentially need skilled nursing care. My relationship with Trilogy started a little over 6 months ago, possibly. Yeah. Where we identified that we had providers in-house that weren't necessarily meeting our goals. And me meeting with Tony and Jennifer, who is their director in this market, I identified that Trilogy was a premier provider. We sat down, we discussed some of the goals that Life Care had, and we identified that Trilogy met those goals.
All right. That's great.
It is actually, and first of all, thank you guys for coming. and come and
Thank
being
you for
out.
having us.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we do this show, is to be able to bring partners that we have built relationships with in the community and have them on to tell their side of what they do. You know, it's one thing to hear it from us, but, you know, you get to talk about what you do. Right. And I love what you said about, you know, being able to offer services that you felt whether you weren't being delivered, you know, because beside the regular standard, you know, PAT, physical therapy, occupational therapy, you know, skilled nursing, there's a lot of services that we feel are important to that transition, to making sure that your patients, residents, don't come back. You know, right. I mean, we're basically taking the baton for healing. That's how I see it, is we're taking the baton for healing. So by offering things like, you know, behavioral health and mental health therapy with our psych nursing, to be able to offer like the bioimpedance, the Zoe that we told you about, right. that can track and detect heart failure 2 weeks ahead of time. Those are tools that we use with you guys, and I think we're excited to continue to do that.
Okay. So I know Life Care Center at Inver is committed to be a premier provider of long-term health care. So please tell our listeners, help them understand what long-term health care means and what makes you different from any other facilities.
So Life Care Center Inver, first off, we're a 5-star facility. We're Joint Commission accredited, which is a very high prestigious accreditation that not all skilled nursing facilities necessarily have to have. So that's something that I think says a lot about our company. We're a part of a very large company, Life Care Centers of America, and it's actually the largest of privately owned long-term care companies. We're in 28 different states. We have 200 plus facilities nationwide, all the way out to Hawaii. So we're very, very, our mass is, you know, out there. We have 21 facilities alone in Florida. So we work very closely with each other. I think that by working with such a large company, we've got those procedures, those policies, we've got that structure and those resources that are necessary in providing care for our residents, and also fostering growth within the company for our staff members as well.
Okay. And so that sets you apart, I'm sure. I mean, that's so many facilities. How do you go to all these facilities?
Now, Eddie and I are just a part of Life Care Center at Inverary.
Right.
We've been to other facilities, and we work with those other facilities, whether it's remotely or however it may be. We have a regional team and divisional team that work with us here in Florida, and then we also have resources up in Tennessee where our corporate office is. But in respect to your other question for long-term care, you know, we do work with short-term and rehab, but the long-term care piece of it, really our residents, you know, when they come to us, we don't necessarily know, we'd like to know, but not necessarily do we know where they're going to be at exactly after they finish their rehab. And I think what's important is kind of grasping, you know, their transition to that safe environment, but necessarily do they go home. Sometimes they do end up staying with us and we do become their home. And I think that transition is very important, and them finding that home within Life Care, I think it's something that we've been very successful with, and we have a lot of success stories and a lot of families that, you know, we've been able to support in those times.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about some of the services you offer. I have here you offer rehab and long-term, as obviously, as well as outpatient therapy. What determines which type of care a potential patient might qualify for?
So when a patient comes in to us, whether it's from, in most cases, it's the hospital. Sometimes it's a direct admission from home if they've had that hospital stay within the past 30 days. Every patient's evaluated by therapy. So whether or not they qualify to have physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, or all three disciplines, that's determined from the therapist and their physician that they're assigned upon admission. Beyond that, when they come off of therapy services, if they're going to be transitioning home, and that's when we take a look at seeing if they are going to qualify for some outpatient therapy with us. Sometimes that happens with our campus where we're affiliated with our independent living and our assisted living facility that are right there on our campus, which is very, very helpful for us. Or if they're going to be going home and, we call up Tony and we've got Trilogy there to assist us. So it really depends on each patient, and that's what we try and base every patient's care around what they require. Everyone's different.
Right, and it's so great to have all the resources that you have at hand, as well as Trilogy.
Yeah, and it makes a difference. Like you said, we were talking about it even before we started, that the conversation starts at admission. So we know what's going on, or you know what's going on, and when it comes time to think about what the last step might be for them to discharge, I sit down with Hortense and we talk, and she gives me an overview of what the patient's chart is, and we go over the different information, and then I could actually go back to her and say, hey, these are the things that we talked about that are listed. We actually had a situation, not a situation, but it was a story where she said, hey, would you mind going and speaking to this one patient? And I went and I spoke to her, and I wondered why she asked me to do that. And when I went up there, the woman was very sweet, and she thought I was her brother. We talked for a few minutes, and she thought I was her brother, and I just listened to her. And then she realized I wasn't her brother. And then I introduced myself, and she was clear, but for a few minutes or a couple minutes, she thought I was. And so I understood why Hortense said, can you go down? And I said, yeah. And so we were able to add, one of our, psych nurses to be able to go with her, a social worker, and add, the different services that a lot of our other, other people out there that don't offer that. And she was being able to take care of. So now when she went home, not only was she taken care of physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. And that's why I love working with you guys, because Hortense is like that. Your people on the floor are like that. Everybody's trying to make sure that they're giving their patients the best care.
And I think that's what makes our job special, is no patient's the same. So, I think that being able to provide that care that's, unique to that patient, it makes the job interesting every single day.
For sure. Okay. So let's transition into memory care. I think we touched on it a little bit, right? Why and when should someone place a loved one in memory care?
Do you want me to take the floor? I want to make sure Eddie gets to talk too.
Well, so memory care. So at Life Care, we have a secured unit. The secure unit has 23 beds. Residents on that unit are usually clinically diagnosed with either Alzheimer's, dementia, or sundown. If your family member's at home and they're exit seeking, they're going outside, they're wandering, they're confused, that's a resident that meets the criteria for our memory care unit, our secured unit, what I like to call it. On that unit, all the activities, the meals, the medical care is all tailored for the disease process. Dementia and Alzheimer's are both undefined, and they come in multiple stages. Sometimes it's just for someone being forgetful, and then sometimes it's where they forget to put their clothes on, they forget how to put their clothes on, they forget how to walk, they forget how to eat, and so on and so on. So if your family member's at home and they meet that criteria, then they'll be appropriate for that unit.
Okay. On that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break. You are listening to your Hometown Health Show. I'm Yolanda Santana, and again, our special guest is Life Care Center at Inverary, Florida. We'll be right back.
Trilogy was established in 2016 by industry experts with over 30 years in home health care operations spanning 30-plus counties throughout the state of Florida. With offices in Jacksonville, Port St. Lucie, West Palm Beach, we strive to provide the most optimal care to our patients in a fun, forward-thinking environment. Our focus is on personal relationships, whether with an employee, a patient, or an outside community. Because we know that when people enjoy what they do, it becomes why they do it. Call Trilogy today at 954-689-6660 and ask for more information. In addition to offering the standard mix of services, SN, PT, OT, speech, MSW, and HHA, we also take great pride in being on the cutting edge and offering care and education to our licensed clinicians in other areas most agencies likely don't offer. Emotional and behavioral health with our psych nursing, biofeedback for bladder incontinence and pelvic pain, chemotherapy, IV hydration, antibiotic, and respiratory therapy. Call today at 954-689-6660. Trilogy Home Care. You have been listening to the Trilogy Home Health Show, and if you wish to be a guest on our show, please call us at 561-670-9213 and let us share your knowledge and information with our listeners. Trilogy Home Health Care Show enjoys serving the community and bringing doctors and facilities of interest to help educate and inform the community. Please call us at 561-670-9213 and let us put you on the airwaves with the Trilogy Home Health Show.
Good evening, everyone. I am Yolanda Santana. You're listening to your Hometown Health Show on 95.3 FM, 1470 AM, and Facebook Live. Again, this evening we have Elizabeth Brust and Eddie Oscar from Life Care Center at Inverary, as well as Tony Brown from Trilogy Home Health. Welcome again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We were talking a little bit about memory care, and let's transition into specialty programs that you offer. If you can go into that a little bit more, Eddie.
Sure. So at Life Care Center at Inverary, when a patient does get admitted to Life Care under rehab services, and when I say rehab services, those patients are using their Medicare insurance. They're assessed by physical therapy, occupational therapy, as well as speech therapy. And those three therapies fall under rehab. We also have pain management, wound care, and lymphedema.
And we also have cognitive linguistic therapy, pet therapy. We have our activities. Our activities program is pretty extensive when it comes to the activities they offer for both short-term and the long-term patients.
Wait, if you can go a little bit into some of these, like pet therapy, what does that mean?
So pet therapy, we look at every patient, every resident holistically, and we understand that pets are a part of people's families. So ideally, we want the pets to come and visit the residents while they're in our facility. And it's simply a matter of them bringing in the vaccinations, dropping them off at the front desk. The pets can come, they can visit. We understand that it's a part of the care, but at the end of the night, the pets do have to go home. Okay. So we also do have pets in the community, therapy dogs, that come by and see the residents from time to time.
Okay.
And one of the things that you mentioned, like lymphedema, having lymphedema, like that's something that they'll start it and we'll continue that kind of care. That's one of the things that we offer as well. And it's important, like, to make sure that it continues to have that kind of treatment, because if you just treat it for a little while, it needs more, you know, and that's one of the things we feel is very important, to when someone is discharged, to continue that kind of care. So that's something that we offer as well.
Right. And then you also have your 24/7 nursing support. Now, is that a part of your other services, or is that only for the long-term care?
24/7 nursing is for all patients. So 24/7, 365. We've got RNs in the facility, nursing staff there to assist the residents. We always offer, we offer 3 meals a day plus snacks. And when it comes to the nursing care, they're able to provide wound care. They offer, they provide all medications. They provide basically all of the activities of daily living. And so that's what they're there for.
Okay. So it all sounds great. At the end of the day, everybody wants to know who pays for it.
So our short-term, of course, our short-term residents, they come to us and they're under Medicare, or we also accept other managed care products. And then when we have patients who stay long-term with us, they're either under private pay or they are under Medicaid coverage.
Okay. All right. And what would you say is special about your team members? Do you want to go into some of the team or some of the staff that you have at Life Care?
We have a pretty dynamic group at Life Care Center at Inverary. I think that in working with the group for the past almost 3 years, there have been changes. There have been some wonderful additions to the team. I think that the team is very everyone's very determined. I think that they're determined for those outcomes. They're determined for those to provide the best quality of care to our residents. They look at each resident and wanting to make sure that that we're able to meet their needs, but also go that extra mile. It's whatever it takes and then some. And that's really Life Care's motto. And I think that's something that's important. That's something that we try to instill in our employees from day one at orientation. When we go in there, we give them a pin and we let them know they're part of the team. And but I think what's also great is that not only are we a team of staff members who care for the residents, we're a team of staff and residents and family members and vendors and third parties and home health, and we're a team of all sorts of different people. And I think that's what really gives us that family atmosphere. And I think that's what's so important.
It's totally true. So as a outsider watching it in action, it is like that. And I've worked with them for a few months now, and I've got to now be a part of it. And what's cool about it is to see, the different folks in action, caring for you'll just be standing there and you'll hear them talking to one of the residents, and they're talking to them like it's their uncle or their grandpa or their mom. And it's super sweet. But then when you actually get into the work of it and the things that need to get done, everybody is super tight. They're super tight, and they're serious about their game, but at the same time, everybody enjoys being with each other. And it's a great energy to work in. I love walking in their building. Everybody is saying it's just fun to be there. They make me want to come back as much as I possibly can, but they also get the job done, because the main focus for everyone, for myself, for you guys, is the outcome, right? Is to make sure that person gets the best possible care while they're there, and then while I come in and we're transitioning and getting them home with everything that they need at home. And your team is amazing at giving me that information. I work very closely with Hortense, who is the social worker there, and I go in, she calls me after a person has, said that they'd like to, use Trilogy, and she gives me all the details of everything that I need, whether the durable medical equipment, are they going to need to go home with certain IVs, what kind of labs. Then I go upstairs and I talk to Miss Joy. And Miss Joy, I say, Miss Joy, how are you doing today? Da, 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 da. She talks to me. They want to see pictures of my wife. As we're getting the information, we're getting the work done at the same time, but we're having, this interaction. And it's really, really a solid team. I love working with you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We love working with you too.
Cool.
Wow, these are rave reviews. Okay, so let's talk about, we've already talked a little bit about different scenarios in which you would work with Trilogy, but Eddie, I think you might have another scenario in which you would have a patient that you need to refer over to Trilogy?
Yeah, sure. So I can remember a case more recently where a resident was at our facility. The resident came from a hospital. The doctor decided that the patient needed IV antibiotics for a certain set number of days. But the resident, of course, was independent. He lived at home alone, and he didn't have a caretaker or anyone at home to assist him. And then when he came to Life Care, he did his rehab. He finished his course of antibiotics. He was discharged home, but without home health. He didn't want anyone coming to the home. He didn't want any help. He didn't want any assistance. But when he got home a few days later, he fell. He ended up back in the hospital. But now, instead of him just having an infection, he had a broken hip. Okay? And this could have been prevented by him having someone follow him home throughout, when he got home. And that's where Trilogy comes into play.
Right. And that's when, and unfortunately, I actually had this last week a couple of times, people will make their own decisions, right? They can decline. But it's my job to go in and speak. That's when Hortense calls me and just said, hey, can you go talk to this person? And you talk to them and you tell them the benefits and how that could possibly happen.
Right.
And
it's so preventable.
And it is preventable. And that we're really just there to help. And we're there to make sure that this doesn't happen. And, I ask them questions and you don't want to come back here, right? You don't want to be here again. And they don't. But at the same time, for whatever reason, sometimes they don't. And then sometimes they will want to decline, and we'll have a conversation and we show them, the benefits of it and how we're just another set of eyes. And basically what I do is I point out to them, you felt like you were taken care of here, right? When you were at Life Care. Yes. Great. We want to make sure that you continue to feel taken care of until you're healthy enough to take care of yourself. And we're going to teach you how to take care of yourself because we educate them at home. It's not just about caring for them. We actually educate them and make sure that they understand the things that they need to do in their home, whether it be making sure it's safer in the home, changing things around the house so they don't fall. There's so many different things that we do to help make sure that their lives are better at home. And sometimes they see it. Hopefully, most of the time they see it, but sometimes they don't, and they have a case like that, and they do end up back. But that second time they listen,
Exactly.
because that hits that feeling so good.
And his reservation was mainly because he thought that he was going to incur some charges.
Right.
But of course, he's entitled to it
Right.
under Medicare. It costs him nothing.
You guys, it's been such a great show. We're going to have you guys back again.
What?
Thank
We're
you so
done?
much.
We're
That's
going
it?
Thank
to
you.
what I want to do before we wrap up is how can they get a hold of you?
Okay, so our number is 954-485-6144, and our website is www.lcca.com, and you can find us under Life Care Center at Inverary in the Florida facilities.
Perfect. Again, you've been watching your Hometown Health Show. I'm Yolanda Santana with All Bits Tech. This show is sponsored by Trilogy. Thank you to our guests.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
having
so
me.
much.
Thanks, Yolanda.
And have a great evening, everyone.
All right, you too.
Thank you.
Trilogy Home Healthcare invites you to call our offices before making a decision about your home health and rehabilitative care. Different from other agencies, Trilogy offers specialized service that other agencies don't, providing exceptional care. That's who we are and what we do. Call us at 866-599-4959 or go to trilogyhomehealthcare.com.